Well, hello, this is Denise Miller, your Leadership Lady Live, and we continue during week 3 of July with great quotes from leaders in government. And the first leader in government that we're going to speak about is the late Henry Kissinger, who was the Secretary of State of the United States. Kissinger said this: "The task of a leader is to get his people from where they are to where they have not been." And as a leader, that is so important. Very, very often, our people are content to timidly stay in the safe space. And as the leader, we need to be the trailblazer to get them to go where they have not been before. But before I go any further, I'd like to ask you, please, if you like the content that I've been presenting, to please make sure that you do subscribe and that you do also distribute the content to people in your communities. Because after all, there may be people who I don't know who can use some of what I'm sharing in their own careers. Now, back to getting people from where they are to where they have not been. Let's think about this. What are you going to do as a leader to cause your people to move ahead and to go further? How are you going to get them to move ahead? It may be that you need to slowly introduce them to things. I kind of think of when you're trying to introduce someone to a new kind of food. You don't pile that food onto their plate all at once and say, "This is good, eat it." Instead, what you do is give them a little taste of this and a little taste of that until they find something that they really like, and then they'll eat more and they'll ask for more. And as a leader, that's what we need to do. We cannot force people into new spaces very quickly without getting them acclimated first. Think about when you go to the beach. The water is generally colder than your body temperature, and it's very, very unlikely that you're going to just go and dive into the cold water because it's a little bit too much of a shock. So you'll get your ankles wet, and then you'll go in up to your knees, and then you'll go in up to your hips, and then perhaps to your waist or your chest, and then finally you'll dive in and swim. Now, for those of you who do the cold plunge, I take my hat off to you. You are amazing. It's hard for me to even take a cold shower. So let's begin to slowly introduce the people on our teams to the new ways of doing things so that they will accept them more readily. The second quote is from Tony Blair, who was a former prime minister of the United Kingdom, Great Britain. And he says this, and this is so important: "The art of leadership is saying no, not yes. It's very easy to say yes." Now, at first that sounds a little mean. Why in the world would it be such a great thing to say no? Always remember this, though: when you say no to one thing, you're saying yes to something that you feel is more important. So think about the no's that you need to be saying rather than the yeses that you are saying, very often just to keep the peace. What do you need to say no to on your team? Do you need to say no to the person that's constantly late and constantly missing deadlines and constantly causing havoc within the team? That no needs to be, "No, that's not acceptable here. No, we do not work that way. No, you're jeopardizing the purpose of the team." Sometimes we need to say no to the person who comes in late, leaves early, takes longer lunches, is distracted. Sometimes we need to say no, "This is not appropriate. Let's talk about what we can do to improve this." Sometimes we need to say no to ourselves. Sometimes that no needs to be, "No, you can't stay late again tonight. You're working too hard. You're jeopardizing your personal relationships and your family." So what I'd like to ask you to do is to take some time this week to think about the yeses that you are saying and the nos that you should be saying so that you can further the purpose of your team, that you can further your relationships, the careers of your teammates, and your own career. And finally, the vision and mission of your organization. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. Once again, I ask that you do take the time to share this with your community. And please do, if you appreciate the content, let me know. You know what to do. Have a great balance of the week.